Hey, thanks for making it to Veterans Info Tap. I'm glad you made it. New benefits, expanded benefits. These are things that we like to keep our eyes open for because it's a lot better than the reduction of benefits or the elimination of benefits. So, new benefits and expanding benefits is something that's very important to all of us to understand. And I'm going to give you some tips and tricks here on how we, as a veteran community, can really advocate for ourselves. So let's remember that there's two different types of avenues in which benefits come to us as veterans, or surviving spouses, or dependents. So that's important to understand that there's the entire veteran sphere that's impacted typically. So we have our federal benefits. Typically, VA, right, is going to be the issuer of federal benefits, and then we also have state benefits. Now, I did see a comment in a video that I did recently, and it kind of sparked this idea to dive in a little bit deeper. So I want to share this with you. Before I do jump into it, though, I do want to throw out a very special thank you to Bill Walsh 6810. Bill Walsh 6810. Thank you so much for the super chat. I really do appreciate your support very much. All right, so jumping back into it, what I'm talking about here is specifically state benefits. So I did a video on the top 5 states. They're always kind of different depending on what you're actually looking for in a state with regard to the benefits that they give you. Now, with that being said, not every single state is the same with regard to their state benefits that they offer you as a veteran or a spouse or a surviving spouse or dependent and what have you. So this kind of creates a situation in which some states are going to be better off than others. Now, the idea here is, okay, most states have some version of a real estate tax deduction for your primary home, or maybe an elimination, the complete exemption for your real estate property taxes. We have the ability to maybe get your automobile registration fee waived, might have state park passes, hunting licenses, fishing licenses, that type of stuff. Educational programs at the state level, maybe tuition, some sort of a tuition fee waiver at the veteran or spouse or dependent level. It could be veteran homes. Your state could have veteran homes. These veteran homes are for maybe anything from a assisted living environment all the way through to skilled nursing and memory care. These are huge benefits. You might not technically need it today, but maybe someday you may need that type of a benefit, and it's there at the state level. So there's also veteran cemeteries that are not VA cemeteries. They're state veterans cemeteries. They mirror the look and feel of the national cemeteries, and they receive money and grant funding and all that good stuff from the big VA, but they're ran by the state. So we have all kinds of different benefits. Now the question here is, with regard to new benefits or expanding benefits, let's talk about how you could potentially petition for your state to expand a benefit or add a new benefit. Now, the comment that I read regarding this was from Missouri. So I pulled up some information on Missouri with regard to veterans because it's important to understand what we have. So I'm going to talk about that. I'm going to talk about kind of the mindset here and give a quick run through on the potential of getting something expanded or newly implemented in the state. So the number one thing that you should do in whatever state you're in is look and see exactly what state benefits you already have for disabled veterans. Look at what the percentages are required. Maybe it's a 50%, for example, 50% rating or higher for maybe a state park pass or whatever. Maybe you have to be 100% for your real estate property tax. Maybe you're looking to expand. Maybe you're looking to make something a little more bolstered. Maybe you're missing something. Maybe there's no educational benefit. Wherever you see a gap, my suggestion is go find a state or two that have that benefit in place. Look up that information, pull that information up so you have it as a reference. Now, here's the idea. State benefits, in my mind, are offered to veterans for really, number one, look, I get it. It's the right thing to do, but they're not going to just shell out money. The way I look at this is from a financial perspective. From the state perspective, veterans are not a drain on the ecosystem. They're bringing in typically federal dollars. Now, these federal dollars that are coming in the form of disability compensation, school benefits, educational benefits, Chapter 35 for dependents, utilizing healthcare, creating jobs through the VA, states want veterans in their state. So they create, in my opinion, these state benefits to act as kind of a magnet or an anchor to keep veterans in the state. So let's talk about that for a second, because now what we've talked about so far is identifying, knowing what you have in your state, identifying potential gaps of benefits in your state, finding another state or two that offer that type of a benefit, and pulling up the information on that, what it looks like, maybe even the legislation that put that in place. Now you have all of that information. So the next step is, what are veterans bringing already to that state financially? Okay, it's bigger than this, but this is just an example of some numbers you would like to put together. I pulled up, and it's just a Google search, and it pulls you to the page. I pulled up VA Benefits Annual Report. VA Benefits Annual Report. What this report does, I don't even know if this is the actual real name. Let me look what they even call this thing. It's the annual benefits report. Okay, so from the Veterans Benefits Administration. So it's the VA, but it's the Veterans Benefits Administration, and it is their benefits report. Now, in this benefits report, it's going to give us information such as the total amount of compensation that's paid out to veterans, broke down by state. It also breaks down by age and all that good stuff as well. It also gives us pension numbers, education, home loan guarantees, VR&E, Veterans Readiness and Employment. So it gives us a lot of good information. I'm just going to focus here on compensation. So for Missouri, since this is the state that had the comment that prompted this video, the estimated total veteran population in Missouri is 384,479 as of the 2024 annual report. The 2025 report will come out here shortly. Usually comes out the first quarter of the year. So here we are in January of 2026. So we should be seeing the 2025 report anytime. So as of this report for 2024 numbers, again, it shows the veteran population is about 384,000. Of that number, I'm going to just round here, about 120,000 veterans are receiving VA disability compensation. And that's about the average percentage-wise. So it's around, high 20s, maybe close to 30% of veterans are receiving disability compensation. So they are pretty much in line with that. But what does that equate to on a dollar figure basis? Remember, you're a veteran in a state. There's many other veterans in the state receiving VA disability compensation. And guess what? You're spending it in the state. So now you're supporting the small businesses. You're spending money in the state. You're paying your local taxes, all of that type of stuff. And so you are a positive contributor to the state's ecosystem, is the way that you have to think about this. So the estimated total amount paid for just VA disability compensation in the state of Missouri for the year 2024 fiscal year on a monthly basis, $236,248,538. What does that equate to on an annual basis? Well, nearly $3 billion. It's 2.834 million. So 2.83 billion $2,834,982,450. So really, in the conversation, it would be nearly $3 billion spent or given in VA disability compensation, and quite frankly, spent in the state. So this is revenue coming in, essentially, into the state and spent in the state, then taxed in the state. Okay, indirectly, right? You're not paying a state income tax, but when you spend it, you're spending it on taxable goods. Now, the other way to think about this is, great, of this veteran population, there's also room to grow the veteran population. Maybe if the state had better veteran benefits, maybe a neighboring state's veterans may move into your state. Also, you veterans in this example, the state of Missouri or any state, have created jobs for the constituents, the population of that state, in this case, Missouri. So whatever is going on in Missouri, anything that's for veterans, right? Because there's nearly 400,000 veterans in the state, there are resources and different government organizations, nonprofits. There's a whole infrastructure of support and services for veterans that have been established in the state and creating jobs in the state. Those jobs are getting taxed, right? Those incomes are getting taxed in the state. So all of this stuff is the big picture stuff that makes it realistic and plausible to go, hey, look, if you do this and create this benefit or expand this benefit, it is going to help keep veterans in the state. It's going to potentially attract new veterans to the state. And that is all good, because what's the opposite of that? The opposite of that is a shrinking veteran population, a shrinking employment opportunities from all the services that may be disappearing as veterans disappear. So let's talk about the legislative kind of process, things that you need to do. I pulled this up just to kind of have some sort of guideline to follow to give the basics. You want to find out who your representative is. Absolutely. Whoever's the representative at the state level, okay? Some states call them different things, right? Could be your state assembly person, could be your state representative, whatever it is. It's a smaller version of the federal government, right? It's kind of like you have a House and you have a Senate and you have the governor. So that's kind of the makeup. So this is what I pulled up. I'm going to read this. Steps to introduce a state bill for veterans benefits. Identify a need, right? So we talked about that. Research gaps. So you're looking at what you have currently. Then you're looking at other states to really kind of help hone in a way to bridge that gap. You would want to speak with other veterans if you could. Gather firsthand accounts from other veterans and families, maybe in that local area, that all fall underneath that same senator or assembly person for your state, whoever your representative is. Maybe it's both of them. Because you're going to need to find somebody who's going to champion this legislation, who's going to introduce it to the assembly or to the Senate or to both. So you want to make sure that you're getting enough momentum behind you, enough words. So getting in contact with your local Veteran Service Office, if it's a government entity, that's fine. Reach out to them, reach out to your veteran service organizations such as DAV, American Legion, and have those conversations with the folks there. Now, typically, just as a side note, at the local level, your veteran service organizations tend to not get too involved with the legislative process. They like to leave that to the higher level, so maybe at the state level. But at least you can have the conversation and maybe get some information so you can get pointed in the right direction. So ideally, you'd be able to draft some legislation. And that's why I said, if you can find another state that's implemented it, find that original legislation, and then take that and you can kind of, wordsmith it to your liking for implementation in your state. So you can get technical help, work with your state's Department of Veterans Affairs, like the Department of Veterans Affairs for the state, your local Veteran Service Officer, or your local Veteran Service offices, like I said, American Legion, VFW, DAV, and so forth. Try to find out who your contact would be at the state level. Define scope, clearly state what the new law will do, who it helps, and how it will be funded or implemented. Now, sometimes what you could do, just to throw this out there as a way to think about this, is let's say that whatever benefit it is requires a certain percentage rating. The idea behind that is, well, anybody who's less than that may revisit their claim and look to get it increased so then they could qualify for this additional benefit. Well, if they get increased, they're going to bring in more money. If they bring in more money, they're going to spend more money in the state, and that money will get taxed. So in a kind of follow the bouncing ball way, eventually it pays for itself. If you need help with your claim, reach out to us, Evidence-Based VA Claims. We're happy to help. Free consultation. And if we move forward, we guarantee a win. You're going to get an increase. You're going to get, or you're going to get a new rated condition or what have you. So you will get a win at the end of the day. All right. So next one here: build a coalition and advocate. So engage VSOs, your Veteran Service Organization, your Veteran Service Officers. Partner with accredited representatives to lend credibility and manpower. Contact your legislators. Reach out to your state's representative and senator, especially those on relevant committees. Okay, Veterans Affairs, Appropriations, Ways and Means, state committees. They have them, and you can definitely get in contact with them. Also, I would say any sort of Veterans Commission or committee at the state level, or even at your local level in your county. There may be some sort of a veteran military/veteran committee or commission or board that's made up of folks in your geographic location. Reach out to them and get their support, because they are typically formed in order to be a kind of a go-between to the elected officials and the community to help kind of as a barometer. So that's another good thing. So next, you would need to educate lawmakers, provide clear, concise information, fact sheets. You'd want to create a one-pager, right? A little one-pager, impact statements to legislators and their staff using data and personal stories. Find a sponsor. You'd want to seek a champion. Now, in some cases, because this is welcome to the world of politics, sometimes the person you're talking to may not end up being the person to champion it and introduce it for whatever political reasons, right? They may have, Joe or Jane Snuffy, who's a couple, cities over, and they want that person to champion it because maybe they're up for re-election and the other person's been in place longer, right? So at the end of the day, we don't care who champions it. We just need a champion, and whoever's going to champion it, we'll get behind. But you're going to most likely start off in your district or whatever they want to call it. You can also, again, reach out to maybe the chairman of the Senate, the chairman of the Veterans Committees on either the Assembly side or the Senate side in your state. Next, you'd want to navigate the legislative process. So you have committee hearings. Your bill would go to committee. If you're the one who's really leaning forward, right? Let's say, you wrote up a bunch of stuff in the military. You're used to doing that. You're used to researching things and throwing it together. And essentially you become, as you're putting this together, you could actually become we'll call it an expert in whatever you're talking about. And you may need to go testify and rally support at these hearings. So you could potentially want to be prepared for that, or you could, again, you can kind of stop before that. Find somebody who's going to become the subject matter expert, if you will, and really kind of work with them through it as you're having these conversations. You'd want to work for passage in both of the chambers at the state level, and then for the governor's signature. So it is a lot of work, but again, the states have their offices for their assembly folks and their Senate folks, and they have staffers, and they introduce legislation all the time. So this isn't new for them. So if you find a champion, if you find a sympathetic, maybe a veteran who serves in your state assembly or state senate, who wants to take on something to better the lives of veterans in their state, you're going to get some help through the process, and they'll guide you through what they need you to do and what they can do. So with that, just wanted to share that information with you. Thanks so much for watching. I appreciate it. You have a great one. And remember, if we don't take care of each other, something went wrong.